Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, the President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country in the courtrooms of America. Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
Liberty University versus Geithner, the first case argued on Obamacare at the Court of Appeals, may make its way to the United States Supreme Court. I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel and dean of Liberty University School of Law. Joining me is Shawn Akers, the dean of the Helm School of Government at Liberty University. Shawn, this case called Liberty University versus Geithner was the very first one, of course, argued at the United States at the Court of Appeals. I argued the case, followed by the Commonwealth of Virginia case. And then there's a couple other cases coming up down the pipeline as well. One at the Sixth Circuit out of the state of Michigan. It'll be argued in the Sixth Circuit in Cincinnati, Ohio. And that will be the early part of June, followed by the one in Florida with all the states that joined in on that case at the 11th Circuit. That will be argued in Atlanta at that Court of Appeals. Those are the next series of cases, but ours is about a month before every one of those, and then our decision will come down substantially sooner than any of those other cases as well, making it the most likely case to go to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Matt, yesterday we talked about this at length, and you mentioned a couple of things. One of them was that this was a large method of redistributing wealth. For the listeners that may or may not follow this terribly closely, I'm hearing on one hand that we've got a bill that wants to provide health insurance for everybody, and on the other, you told us yesterday that this is a method of redistributing wealth. How do we make that connection?
Well, this bill does three central things. There's many other things that it does, but it has what's called a guaranteed issue, which means that everybody will be covered under this insurance law. So private insurance will have to cover everybody, no pre-existing conditions, no exclusions at all. And then there's also the elimination of a community rating system, which means that they're not able to distribute risk within their pool and make decisions based upon that risk. So it takes away all of the insurance companies' ability to literally manage their companies and make themselves solvent. So in order to do that, you have to have a forced mandate. 7 states have tried this guaranteed issue and eliminating the community rating system, and 7 states have failed. The only state that has, quote-unquote, succeeded is Massachusetts. And what it did was it forced individuals to participate. So in order to take away the risk adjustment from insurance companies, and by the way, it does a third thing, it eliminates the annual cap. And that's what is happening right now with all these companies getting waivers, because the annual cap is being gradually removed each year until in 2014 there is no cap at all. So an insurance company could not insure against the fact that they're only going to have a $500,000 potential loss on this particular insurance policy. They could have a $50 million or $100 million loss on that particular insurance policy. So it eliminates all of the insurance companies' ability to manage their risk. So consequently, in order to compensate for that, everyone is forced to participate. That's what happened in Massachusetts. It's the 8th state that did this, but it, unlike the other 7 that failed, brought in the mandate. Now, the problem with Massachusetts is you buy the insurance or you pay a penalty, kind of like the federal government, and the penalty starts off not so bad of a penalty. So there's a number of people that say, I can't afford the insurance, so I'll pay the penalty and be uninsured. The problem is that the penalty has increased now so that people can't afford the penalty either. So they can't afford the insurance and they can't afford the penalty. And what's going to happen, I think, here in the ObamaCare is the same thing. So here's what happens. Everyone is forced under this system through the federal government to buy the insurance, and if they don't, then they have to pay a penalty. And then employers are forced to therefore provide the insurance, particularly those employers that are 50 and more in terms of their employees. By the way, when you count full-time employees under this, it's no longer 35, 40 hours. Anybody who's a 30-hour employee working part-time will have to be covered by insurance benefits. So, I mean, what you're talking about is a huge new a financial burden being placed on employers. What you're also talking about is people are not going to hire people working part-time because they're just not going to be able to afford having this additional insurance. So the employers are forced to provide this insurance as well, and it's a certain kind of insurance. We'll talk about some of the complications of that in a few moments.
Yeah, Matt, two of those things that you said are right down frightening. One is it appears that were this to become the law of the land, were it to be upheld, it's going to be very, very difficult for employers to provide full-time jobs for anybody because they're going to have to build into that salary the cost of providing this health care benefit. So it's a very expensive proposition after this to hire a full-time employee.
Well, take, for example, Liberty University. It has about 3,900 people. 4,300 plus people are insured because those are dependents of people that are employees. These are individuals that work with Liberty. And Liberty now, if one of those 4,300 individuals has to go out of Liberty's insurance, which is a good insurance package, and get some kind of insurance or medical treatment that's not provided by Liberty, and they have to go to an exchange or get some federal subsidy under this particular insurance law, then Liberty has to pay a penalty between $2,000 and $3,000 for each one of the employees and those insureds that it has. Now, that penalty could be about $1.1 million if one of the 4,300 people has to go outside. Now, if a second person has to go outside, then it's 1.1 million times 2. If a third person has to go outside, it's 1.1 million times 3. So, I mean, the implications of this are catastrophic. Let me give you a concrete example of what I mean. Under this particular health insurance law, you have to have a physical within 30 days of going to an ambulatory outpatient facility for surgery. We have an individual who went through a physical, an annual physical, just like she does every year. Then she went to a cataract office, and they said you need to have cataract surgery on both eyes. But under this new Obamacare, we have to give you a physical within 30 days of the surgery. Well, she had just had a physical just a little over 30 days ago.
Right.
Well, that one doesn't count. So that means she has to get another physical, and within 30 days of that physical, have surgery on the one eye. Well, you can't do both eyes at the same time. You have to have a 10-day time period or something like that elapse between them. So you'd have to have the second surgery also within the 30-day period, but if it happened to be on the 31st day, she'd have to delay that, get a third physical. Now, say your insurance company says, one physical is all we give a year. 2 physicals, we might go for that, but we're just not going to swallow 3 physicals. Okay, that person goes out and gets a subsidy. Boom. Everybody who's in the insured pool gets penalized. The employer has to pay that penalty. That's just one of the incredible, burdensome micromanagement positions and provisions in this bill. This really puts the federal government in the CEO's seat of every employer in America.
Well, and it turns math on its head, Matt. We're looking at a document that is so long, it took somebody like Liberty Counsel to wade through it and come to those conclusions to actually figure out that's what was going to happen. The fact is that the math makes no sense whatsoever. If you're going to do that to employers on one hand, you're very likely to bankrupt large numbers of employers. And on the other hand, the way that insurance pools work, the insurance is is managed and redistribution of risk on a private level. They hire folks called actuaries, and these actuaries are really, really good at what they do, and it's comparing micro to macro. They look down and they do the math on what's likely to occur a certain number of times on the macro, and then we buy in saying what it's likely to the risk to us as individuals on the micro. And those things work out because the insurance company is able to say at this rate of premium, we'll still be solvent. Now, when we take away the insurance company's ability to do that and say you're going to cover everything, like it or not, because we tell you to, it's just a physical, mathematical impossibility for those companies to remain solvent.
That's exactly what happens. I mean, we could talk more about just a recent federal case that just came out regarding the atrocious treatment regarding veterans with mental conditions, post-traumatic stress disorder, and so forth. Well, that's the government providing this to our veterans, and they're doing a very poor job. Medicaid is broken. Government's doing that, a very poor job. Now what we're getting ready to do is give the government more This is the problem with this particular health insurance bill. Give us a call at Liberty Counsel. Go to our website, lc.org. Sign up for the network, the social blogging and events network right there on the website. It's the Freedom Federation icon right there on the front page of lc.org. Sign up for that. Organize your groups of individuals, like-minded people in your community to mobilize and advance our core values. Also, give an online contribution to Liberty Counsel right there. And you can also order the Patriot's Handbook on Religious Liberty.
You have been listening to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. Our hope is to encourage and inspire you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedoms. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email update. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.